All right, Tori. So I'm excited to have our intervention lesson today. We today are doing a little earlier than Friday, like normal, because you're going to be out of school. I have to come, and you're going to get to have fun being at home, doing whatever you want, right? Ugh. All right. Well, either way, I'm going to be at work, and you're not. So we're going to go over where was a bucket list place that you had said you wanted to travel in the United States.
New York.
Right. So we're going to continue with the same objectives we've been working on with prosody, and you're going to sound out words, and you're going to learn some meanings of vocabulary words for 10th grade. And then we're going to look at some nonfiction texts surrounding a poem about New York. I went there once for a work trip, but I didn't get to go see any of the cool historical stuff I'm really passionate about. I want to see the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, so I definitely want to go back one day, and definitely already know that you want to go. So we're going to look at some texts about that today. All right? So, the first objective, as I said earlier, we're going to practice sounding out 10th grade vocabulary words, and you're going to practice with the understanding of those words. So, your guiding question is, am I actively sounding out, practicing 10th grade vocabulary words? What is your objective today?
Am I actively sounding out words on a 10th grade level?
Yeah. So the method we did the past couple weeks, you seem to work really well with. You were practicing some vocabulary. Then we were saying definitions. You were practicing it in a sentence, and then you were making your own sentence, a new one, right? So we're going to continue with the same strategy. You think you're going to be able to sound out 10th grade words? All right, moving on up, huh? So we're going to go ahead and get started. So our continued word recognition for today's session is you're going to practice prosody as well. But first we're going to start out with your vocabulary challenge. Start out with your what? All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So words from the poem New Colossus. I picked out words that I thought you might struggle with throughout the text we're going to have today. So what do you think this first word is?
Exile.
Exile, yeah. So then let's say the definition. Exile. Go ahead one more time.
Exile definition, a state of being
Barred.
barred from one's native country, typically for political or punitive reasons.
Yeah, for political or punitive reasons. So that means like you got in trouble with something politically, or maybe you got sent to jail for something in your own country, so you get barred or shut out from your country. Okay, so this is using it in a sentence. After 20 years in exile, the religious leader was allowed to return to his homeland. Okay, so now I want you to use exile in your own sentence. You have about 35 seconds. Go. You're thinking in your head what kind of sentence you're going to say using the word exile. You got it in your brain? Let me know when you're ready. Okay, so definition of exile again was the state of being barred from one's native country, typically for political or punitive reasons. So getting kicked out of your own country for political or getting in trouble, going to jail reasons, having to go somewhere else. Okay, so try to use exile in a sentence for me.
I was going to say many African Americans have been exiled from their state, from their hometown.
Okay, many African Americans were exiled from their hometowns for what?
For doing stuff that they weren't supposed to do.
Okay, so this is a little bit more specific from a country. Okay, so think of a country, not a state. In our country is the United States, people who are shut out from their own country. Think of that. And then try another sentence using the word exile. Who are people who want to come to America, but they're often told they can't for different reasons? That our president is creating walls, different things about that. And what country are they coming from a lot of times? What different countries?
Mexico.
Okay, use it with Mexico. Go ahead.
Many People from Mexico.
Yep, you got it. Go ahead.
Many people from Mexico have been exiled and come to the United States.
Okay. Now, next word is refuse from the New Colossus poem. The definition, refuse, is refuse. Go ahead.
Things such humans, such animals thrown away or rejected as worthless trash.
Okay, refuse. Things, humans, animals thrown away or rejected as worthless or trash. So using that in a sentence, alcohol is made from the refuse, molasses, obtained from beet sugar factories. So something that is thrown away or rejected as trash, refuse. Something that is thrown away or rejected as trash. It can be things, humans, or animals thrown away or rejected as trash. Use that word refuse in a sentence.
My friend's dog. Wait, no. My dad's dog. No. Yeah, my friend's dad's dog got refused from the family because he was acting bad.
Okay, so my friend's dad's dog was treated as, what's the word again?
Refuse.
Refuse. What's the word again?
Refuse.
Yeah. He was treated as refuse for what?
Being bad.
Okay. Okay, next word is refugees. What's the word?
Refugees.
Okay. Say the definition. Refugees definition. Go ahead.
A person who has been forced to leave their country in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster.
Okay, and then using refugees in a sentence. Go ahead.
No supplies, no water, no food. Hundreds of thousands of refugees trying to survive on nothing.
Okay, what's the word again?
Refugees.
Refugees. What's the word again?
Refugees.
Okay, so can you use refugees in a sentence?
Many African Americans have been refugees to escape from slavery.
Okay, many African Americans became refugees to escape from slavery. Alright. Now we're going to continue with our vocabulary practice. Okay, I want you to try to sound out this next word from Emma Lazarus nonfiction.
Exclusion.
What's the word?
Exclusion.
Yeah. So now let's look at the definition of exclusion. Go ahead.
A situation in which someone is deliberately prevented from being involved in an activity or from entering the place.
Okay, so using exclusion in a sentence, it says Washington is annoyed at the
Exclusion.
of U.S. troops from the area. Okay? So what is a way you could use exclusion in a sentence? It says when someone is deliberately prevented from being involved in an activity or from entering a place. How could you use exclusion in a sentence?
The president is being exclusive to the people who want to move here.
So the word is
Exclusion.
exclusion. Okay? So the exclusion of who? No. So
The African Americans.
okay, so let's use a different group, not just always that section.
Let's see. The Hispanics.
Okay, the exclusion of Hispanics is happening because of what?
Because the president doesn't want them to come to the U.S.
Okay. Now, next word. Go ahead and sound it out.
Preference.
Preference. This is from the article Trump versus Statue of Liberty. Okay, then we're going to look at the definition of preference.
A greater liking for one
Alternative.
alternative over another or others.
Okay, so liking something more than something else. Okay, using it in a sentence. Go ahead.
The mother showed an obvious preference to her son over her two daughters.
Okay, so think about that. So showing preference over one thing over another. Go ahead and try to use preference in a sentence.
My dad has a more preference over me than all my older sisters.
Oh. My dad shows preference over me than all my
older sisters.
older sisters. All right. All right. Next word, last one. Word from the Statue of Liberty nonfiction text. Sound it out.
Enlightens.
What's the word?
Enlightens.
Okay, so look at enlightens definition. Go ahead.
Give someone greater knowledge and understanding about a subject or situation.
Okay, so using it in a sentence, plus you're traveling with your peers and their views of their hometown may enlighten you. So it says you get greater knowledge and understanding about a subject or situation. Okay? So you're having greater understanding of a subject or situation. How could you use that word enlighten or enlightens in a sentence? When you have greater understanding about a subject or situation.
My friends enlightened me on their trip back from their hometown.
Okay? Go in more detail because that's very similar to the sentence that I gave you as an example. So my friends enlightened me. Go ahead.
On their religion.
Okay.
Their hometown.
All right. So now you did a great job of sounding out words. Then you looked at the definitions. You were putting them in sentences of your own after looking at our sentence definitions, examples. So now our continued word recognition for today's session is that you're going to practice prosody. And what is prosody again?
Showing punctuation and emotion.
Yeah.
Emotions.
Yeah, making sure you attend to punctuation and emotion. So your guiding question is, am I using prosody or reading with emotion, punctuation, focus, fluent reading? So can you repeat that one more time for me? Am I using, thank you for being honest, am I using prosody or emotion and punctuation, focus, fluent reading?
Am I using prosody to show emotions, punctuations, and fluency?
All right, great. So first, I want you to do a silent cold read of a short poem, and it's called The New Colossus. What is it called?
The New Colossus.
And as you can see, where does it take place?
In New York.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to go ahead and you can read this silently to yourself so you can get an idea of the emotions that the author may have been trying to communicate about her audience, immigrants. Okay? Go ahead and read that for 30 seconds. Let me know when you're done. All right, awesome. So now we're going to kind of play a game. And remember how we were doing prosody before? We're acting like we're different characters. So now I'm going to read the poem as if I'm the statue of female, okay, with prosody and emotion. All right, so The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lighting, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air bridge harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. All right. So how might you apply the strategy that I just did when you're reading with prosody?
Show emotions and punctuation.
Yeah, show emotion, show punctuation. Okay? So I just acted as if I was who?
The lady with fish.
Right, the who. And what is she? Statue of what? Liberty. Great. So, you've been doing an amazing job mastering prosody before, so I'm going to put more emphasis today on comprehension to give you more at-bats with elaborating on implicit and explicit questions. But first, you're going to go ahead and, just like I did, use prosody to read the poem one time for us. Go ahead.
The new
Colossus.
Emma Lazarus, not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin sights cities span.
Keep going. Got it.
Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, she cries, she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe food. The rich refuse of your teeming shore. Send this, the homeless, tempest toast to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Right. Good job. When you were doing the quotes, you sounded a lot more serious and put emphasis, okay? So you read the cold read first, right? And then you put some emphasis on it. So now, after listening to my intro and you get into practice, are you starting to feel more confident with prosody? Yeah, putting some more emphasis on emotions, and you're definitely doing a great job. You were pausing at commas, semicolons, punctuation marks. Excellent job. So since we just read the poem, The New Colossus, I'm going to go to the end of the poem here, and I'm going to scan over the 3 questions I'm about to answer. Okay? So then, when I answer the questions, you should take notes in your interactive journal, okay, of what I'm going to do to add details beyond the text evidence to fully elaborate my answers. Also remember, in order to make sure that I answer all parts of the prompt, I always restate the prompt in my answer. So, it says, who is holding the torch in number 1? All right? I know that means that I'm going to use evidence directly from the text. I remember this because of the E in explicit for evidence. Stands for what? Yeah. So you can see it ask where, who is holding the torch? Who is holding the? So before I restate my prompt, I'm looking up the direct evidence in the text, not just for my memory so I don't make careless errors. And I see in the text it says, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch. Okay? Whose flame is the imprisoned lighting, and her name, Mother of Exiles. So now to answer the prompt, I would say the person who is holding the torch is a mighty woman, Mother of Exiles, and that's the Statue of Liberty. So I didn't add a lot of unnecessary details. Okay? It asked me a direct question. Who is holding the torch? All right. Now, for the 4th one, it says implicit. I know that means I use my text like always, but I have to go deeper in my brain too to add my own inferences, details, or thoughts. And I remember this because of the I in implicit stands for isn't all the way in the text. You can see it ask, what do you feel the poet meant by calling the Statue of Liberty Mother of Exiles? Before I restate my prompt, I'm looking up evidence in the text around Mother of Exiles, not just from my memory to make careless errors. And I see in the text, it says, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From our vocabulary, I learned that exiles meant someone was banned from their native country or where they were born for political or criminal reasons. So I feel the poet meant that the Statue of Liberty was the Mother of Exiles, since she was going to rescue, welcome, and take care of those exiles who were banned from their own countries. So now to answer the prompt, I would say the poet called the Statue of Liberty Mother of Exiles, since she was going to rescue, welcome, and take care of those exiles who were banned from their own countries like a caring mother. I added more details from my own thoughts to elaborate since I was asking for more than just a simple fact. But I decided to explain why I knew what exiles and mothers would usually do. And this still makes sure my answer was clear, focused, but it goes deeper to prove I understood the subject fully. All right? Number 5 says, I'm implicit, all right? And I know that means I use my text like always, but I have to go deeper in my brain too to add my own inferences, details, or thoughts. I remember this because of the I in implicit stands for isn't all the way in the text. Okay? So I am going to look up evidence around this question. Who are the tired, poor, huddled masses yearning to breathe free? Not just in my memory to make careless errors, okay? So I know that poor, huddled masses are crowds of people and they don't have a lot of money. So for the prompt, I might say the tired, poor, huddled masses who are yearning to breathe free that are from other shores are immigrants that want to be free from other countries. I add more details from my own thoughts to elaborate since I was asking, it was asking for more than just a simple fact. But I decided to explain why I knew who the poor were, okay, from other countries and from other shores, like it says in the text. So this still makes sure my answer was clear and focused, but I went deeper to prove I understood the subject fully. Okay, so after listening to me, Tori, answer the explicit and implicit questions from the text, what did you notice I did that would help you be a better reader when you're answering comprehension questions later? You got it. I'm tired too.
You read over the questions.
I previewed the questions. What else?
While you were reading over the questions, you were had waited before you restated the prompt.
So always go back to text evidence before and then make sure to restate the prompt. Great. Go ahead.
You added more details to the questions that read them.
The implicit questions that are asking for more elaboration. Great. So now you're going to read the nonfiction information article that accompanies the poem, The New Colossus, aloud. So you're going to read with prosody. You're going to read with? Yeah, and that means what?
Emotions and functions.
Yeah, and remember, even if it's not a real character, right, we still use emotions. The authors don't want us to sound like a robot, right? All right, so now you're going to read through this text, and it's got 10th grade vocabulary words in it. So we're going to go ahead, and this is an interactive version of the poem. Okay, so go ahead, land to land, start.
Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land.
All right, and then this is information about that section, historical. Go ahead.
Unlike many young women of wealthy families think of, Jones, the future Edith Warrant, who sailed to Europe at the age of 4. Emma Lazarus first crossed the Atlantic in her 30s, 1883, and she did so in business, to raise funds to aid the refugees from the pogroms of 1881 through 1882. After her father's death in 1885, she made another longer trip, relishing the chance finally to travel from land to land, England, France, Holland, Germany, Italy. She may have been pondering a move to Europe, as her friend Henry James had urged her to do, but it was not to be. In the summer of 1887, illness cut short her trip, and in the late fall of her life, she was 38. Here,
so now the next section, it's Sunset Gates. So go ahead.
Here at our sea-washed Sunset Gates shall stand.
All right, go ahead.
Until the
Xenophobic
1920s, when Congress enacted
quotas
to set the clock back to the immigration patterns of 1890. The gates to the United States were substantially open to immigrants. The glaring exception was the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which suspended the immigration of Chinese laborers and prevented those laborers who had left from returning. The Lazarus letters it goes unmentioned, startling that even a woman as involved in immigration as Lazarus should make no mention of the Chinese Exclusion Act. At least, not that I found. Despite the exclusion of the Chinese between 1875 and 1885, the number of immigrants granted permanent residence rose by 75% to nearly 400,000.
Great. So, next section for the interactive poem is Huddled Masses. Go ahead.
Your huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
Okay.
She saw the huddled masses at closer range than the Statue of Liberty ever did. After plunging recklessly and impulsively into a defense of the Russian Jewish immigrants in the Century magazine, Lazarus threw herself into the refugees' cause. She took the streetcar from her lavish home on the 57th Street to work at the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society at 105 East Broadway, where she helped train refugees and she also taught English. She visited them in their squalid quarters in Woods Island and wrote and exposed about dirty water, overflowing garbage, unemployment, and lack of training for adults and education for children. A year after she died, her cousin Sarah Lawrence
Inaugurated.
the new Emma Lazarus Club for Working Girls, where young Jewish immigrants could learn to type or sew or recite Shakespeare.
Okay. So, scanning over your questions.
What?
No, you don't. All right. So, number one, why had Emma Lazarus crossed the ocean? So, you're looking, go ahead.
Emma Lazarus crossed the ocean because right here in the text it says Emma Lazarus first crossed the Atlantic in her 30s, 1883, and she did so on business. So technically, what she was doing was going and helping like women and like other people that aren't like her color and things, and
Okay.
helping them.
Okay. Why do you feel the amount of immigrants rose 75% from 1875 to 1885? Implicit.
The amount of immigrants rose 75% from 1875 to 1885 because
Like how you're looking back in the text for evidence?
in the text, it says the number of immigrants granted permanent residence rose by 75% to nearly 400,000. It says that because, like, it went slowly, but once it started, like, weeks when it started going by, many people started to be granted permanently residence.
Okay, so this one is a little complicated. Yeah, it does say in the text this direct evidence that they were granted permanent residence, but up at the top part, it says that initially Congress had quotas set, and the gates to the United States were open to immigrants initially. So at the beginning, there were a lot more people that were allowed in, right? The gates were open. The gates were?
Open.
Okay, so what do you think that means? The gates were open.
That people were welcome and
Mm-hmm.
they were able to come in and come and leave.
Okay, so now, why did it say Lazarus saw huddled masses more closely than the Statue of Liberty ever had? Why did it say Lazarus saw huddled masses more closely than the Statue of Liberty ever had?
Lazarus saw huddled masses more closely than the Statue of Liberty ever had because she was mostly around them. And then Texas says she saw the huddled masses at closer range than the Statue of Liberty ever did. And like she was like saying that after her long journey, she had started helping people. And she even made like a couple like exposed letters about the island.
Yeah, she made expose letters. And what was that about the island?
That they had like dirty water, overflowing garbage, and unemployment.
Okay. All right, awesome job. So this one, we need a little work on. These two are awesome. Great. So now, so after practicing another reading, elaboration of details in your question, what is helping you to be a better reader to answer comprehension questions, you think?
What's helping me is going back in the text and then also going deeper in my brain.
Great. So now you're going to read the nonfiction passage, Trump versus the Statue of Liberty, aloud. Remember to read with prosody. And what does that mean?
Showing emotions and punctuation.
Yeah, just to give you a little context, this part is marked out on purpose. Miss Hanson didn't just go crazy on the text. They have it marked out because they're trying to say that like Trump was editing what the Statue of Liberty poem says. Okay? Go ahead. I didn't just scribble on the paper. Go ahead.
A senior Trump advisor, Stephanie Miller, sparked a furor.
Furor. Mm-hmm.
Furor when he dismissed.
That means super angry people. Go ahead.
When he dismissed the famous poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty. In response, we asked poets what type of poem would Trump like to see at the statue.
All right. So this part, go ahead. It's like the imaginary thing they thought he would say.
Right. Masses, losers, Trump be the state of liberty.
Mm-hmm. All right. Go ahead.
In 2017, Donald Trump threw his support behind a merit-based immigration policy that would drastically curb legal immigration to America. Under the plan, applications with English proficiency,
good job,
doctorates,
mm-hmm.
high salaries, investment holdings, and credentials like Olympic medals and Nobel Prizes would be given preference. The proposal kicked off a ferocious debate at a White House press briefing when CNN